my position of 6 years at a seminary working there was eliminated. They went through budget cuts. And I was a part of that. I was a part of those budget cuts. And I really didn't think I was going to have a problem finding a job. I felt like I had credentials and qualifications. I had applied for job after job, only to get rejected. I ended up getting a job working in a position that I just did not see myself working in. It wasn't, not that I was too good or anything like that. It just wasn't what I thought I would be doing, especially at this stage in my life. I was experiencing clinical depression, but in the midst of that, God was working.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Meta Transitions. I am your host, Trisha K. Williams, and we have with us today Dr. Coleman. Dr. Coleman is an ordained minister and is the owner of WMC Coaching and Consulting, LLC. Welcome to our show, Dr. Coleman.
Thank you so much for having me, Trisha K. I appreciate you and thankful to be here.
Yes. All right. So let's jump right into it. Dr. Coleman, what is your story?
Well, my story, I have been in a place of transition now for almost 7 years, 7 years. And it started when my position of 6 years at a seminary working there was eliminated. They went through budget cuts. And I was a part of that. I was a part of those budget cuts. And I really didn't think I was going to have a problem finding a job or anything like that. I felt like I had skill set, I had credentials and qualifications, and it was not that easy. I had applied for job after job, only to get rejected, and got to a place where I just was wondering what is happening now, and found myself in just this low place. I ended up going through a temporary place to get a position because I needed something. And I ended up getting a job working in a position that I just did not see myself working in. It wasn't, not that I was too good or anything like that. It just wasn't what I thought I would be doing, especially at this stage in my life. I just turned 50 last year. So this was around 45, 46 years old. And I found myself having to work in this position to help out, and felt like I was in this place of depression. And then in the midst of that, God uprooted me and my family from our church from 21 years. And all of that was just a lot. In that time, I did end up going to speak with someone, talk with a therapist, just to get out and release some of the feelings that I was feeling behind all of these different changes in my life. We had become empty nesters at the time. So all of these different things was happening where I was feeling and experiencing clinical depression. But in the midst of that, God was working. And I'm thankful to that because even as ordained minister, I teach and preach about the goodness of God and how God will sustain you even in the darkness and in the wilderness. And here I am in this place. And I needed him to talk with me. I needed him to show me that there was more. I had to remember that he had plans for my life. And he did. He started moving some things. And even though I wasn't 100% happy or content at the place I was at, I was thankful. And I did my part. I came to work. I didn't grumble. I became a help there. I became a leader there. And God began to move things there for me. So I began to see all of those things were a part of his plan for my life.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. I think what I'm hearing there is that sense of feeling uprooted from, a sure situation in a sense, right? Something consistent. And then feeling out of place and you didn't know where you were going, a sense of uncertainty and overwhelm. And some of the things it sounds like you said you needed to do was to lean on God a bit more and to trust that, he was going to be there for you. But it was difficult to do that. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to hear you saying, a spiritual leader saying, you know what, even a spiritual leader can have mental health challenges, to indicate that, you know what, I was clinically depressed. And I think a lot of people out there, it would be great for them to hear that, because I find that sometimes, people separate Christianity from, mental health challenges. And, I'm glad to hear that, you're able to share that piece of it and reduce some of the stigma surrounding that. And, recognize that you were able to get some help and to seek counseling as a part of your journey to healing.
Yes, yes. I believe that God gives us a lot of different ways that he helps us. He can do it just like that. And he also gives us therapists and clinicians and medications. He other things are available to us as well as a form of help in certain situations. And I believe just getting to a place where we do remove the stigma to say, yes, this is happening in my life. That doesn't make me less than, that doesn't make me crazy. It makes me in a place where I need help getting through a time. And I think that will help people accept and be able to go to counseling and therapy more.
Yes, definitely. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So we want to move into our second section, just really talking a little bit more about what were like a few pinpointed, pieces of your story, maybe that you can share that could give us an opportunity to identify a sense of transformation then on your journey.
Sure. Some of the things that happened, I was able to write 2 books, and one of the most recent book became an Amazon bestseller. So in the midst of all of this transition, I was able to sit and write this book, and I entitled it In Transition, The Breaking, the Beauty, and the Blessing of Starting Over. And I did not know that was a part of my journey. I didn't even see this book coming. And it just goes to show you that when you lean into where you are, good things can happen if you allow it to happen. If you don't struggle against it so much, or not even so much struggling, when you get to a place when you release it, when you just say, you know what, I don't have to know. I'm in this place of uncertainty, but Lord, I'm going to trust you in this. And once I got to a place of acceptance, I was able to move forward with a better frame of mind, move forward with a lot more clarity, even embrace where I was in the midst of all of that transition. Before I was fighting some things, before I was unhappy about having to leave certain places or experience certain things, but had I not left those places, I would not have been able to experience the success of being a best-selling writer, or even tapping into the creativity that I have within. So it worked for my good.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so a book was written, and a lot of times we don't recognize that while we're in transition. There is this saying by Marcus Aurelius that says the obstacle is the way. And I think I'm hearing that in your story, in the sense that instead of fighting against the transition, is sort of embracing and going through the experience and then writing about it and recognizing how important that obstacle can help somebody else. And I'm not surprised that it became a bestseller, because so many people go through transitions. I think we're all going through a transition now with COVID, in a sense, and a lot of people lost their jobs and was uprooted and, needed some hope and inspiration. And I'm sure, your book was able to bring that to them.
Yes, I was thankful to be able to write that. I feel like that title, that was something God gave me. I wasn't expecting to write that book. I felt like a book was in me, yes, several books, but I didn't see that one coming. And it did come in a time when we all were experiencing COVID. We all were in a place where we had to learn how to adapt to something. COVID made us learn how to make adjustments.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. All right. Anything else you'd like to share surrounding the transformation or transition?
I think for me, one of the things I want to say is that it did bring me to a place of greater maturity. Some things I thought I was okay in, or thought differently about, but it's when you're in that situation, it's a different story. And I was able to get to a place, maturing in some ways. I believe the more we live, the more we learn, the more we can mature in areas. So that definitely happened in transition.
Yeah, so that growth, yeah, it gave you a sense of an opportunity to grow and to be a different person. And I think that's, yes, transitions do that for us in a sense. And I think that's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes.
You were able to experience a sense of growth in yourself. And, so I'm hearing pieces of I had to do certain things, right? I had to believe. So I'm hearing works, I'm hearing faith, and I'm also hearing, accepting my situation as well. So it's sort of these multiple pieces coming together, to help you along your journey. And in the end, recognizing a new sense of self.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. Any tips that you can share with our viewers, who might be going through a transition at this point when it comes to their spirituality, believing that God is going to come through for them, but like many Christians, sometimes we're going through stuff and we are in our wilderness journey and we can't see the promised land. So, any tips you could share with individuals that are going through that?
Sure. One of the tips that I can share is that this is a time of self-discovery. A lot of times when we're in transition, we're feeling the sting of it because we're in that wilderness portion, we're in the darkness portion, and we think that, oh, this is over, or I'm too old for this, or maybe I can't do that. But if we step back and again, lean into it and just take the time to see, what are you saying? What's your movement now? What season am I in now? It's a time of self-discovery. And in that, you learn more about yourself, you learn more about movement, you learn more how to be patient, you learn how to move with the silence, when God is silent, when you're not hearing from him, it gives you that nudge that he hasn't left you. You can continue, keep doing what you're doing until you hear from him again. So that was a time of self-discovery. And also it's a time of becoming. We are, created for a purpose. And in this transition, God is showing me who I am to become. He has called me to preach the gospel to the nations. He's called me as a prophet to the nations. He's called me to write and to speak and to teach. And in this transition, I was able to tap into all of that. I have a morning devotion, Empowered by the Word, that was birthed throughout this whole time of transition. So you just never know how things are going to play out, but do know that you're not stutter stepping. You are becoming who God has called you to be in this part of transition.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that idea of stepping into that purpose that God has for you in this transitional moment and recognizing that, it's temporary, but God has a plan for you. And if you're able to step into that plan, then you're able to realize that thing that God has for you. Wonderful. All
yes.
Right.
Yes,
okay.
I'm excited about what he's doing. I've been in this place of transition for a while. I was able to leave the place that I was telling you about, and I'm journeying into becoming an entrepreneur. And again, just more transition along the way. And I have days that are up and good, and I have days that are down, but God has shown me that he got me through all of that. He's going to get me through this too.
Yes, definitely, definitely. I'm glad to hear, that you're able to get through this transition. You were able to write 2 books, and then now you're starting a business where you can, help others to get through their tough times too. All right, so I want to tell you folks, go and get Dr. Coleman's 2 books. We will be flashing them on the screen at some point, so you'll get an opportunity to see them. Also, we will be putting the links to the books in the description below. All right, Dr. Coleman, thank you so much for being with us today. The last last thing I will ask you is for your contact information. How can people reach you, if they wanted to get your books or if they wanted to make contact with you for coaching or consultation?
Sure. You can go to my website at www.wandamcoleman.org, and I'm all across social media at Wanda M. Coleman. So you can also join me on Facebook Live and Instagram, Empowered by the Word, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or you can catch the replay. And those are ways you can contact me.
Wonderful. All right. So I look forward to going and checking out Dr. Coleman's, social media pages and the playbacks on Facebook Live. So you go and check it out too. All right. Well, thank you for being with us, Dr. Coleman. And I look forward to talking with you next time.
Thank you for having me.